Where is he? Where? I've been sitting here for the past 10 minutes just holding my breath with my fingers crossed going, I hope this works tonight. So in what never used to be a struggle, for the past 10 minutes, I've been struggling, hoping, praying to God that we get the stream out to all of the platforms tonight. And so far, so good. It appears like, and I'm hoping it stays this way, it appears as though we are on Facebook tonight. We are on YouTube. We are on Twitch. We're on X. We're on Telegram. We're on Rumble. Hello, Rumble. And we're also on shadowdavis.com. Excellent. I was going to have a guest on tonight, and I thought better of it because I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to get the show out. Last night, I thought for sure we were going to be able to get the show out, and so I introduced Clayton McAllister, who is a Freedom Convoy protester, the guy who laid on the ground. I'm not sure if you guys watched that episode from last night. It didn't air, obviously, live on any of the main social media platforms. We put it on later. I stayed up late last night, and I made sure of uploading, downloading, a little bit of creative editing, take the end and the beginning off, shorten it down for you guys. But ultimately, it was such a great discussion, I couldn't not put it up. So it is available for you guys to go ahead and watch. And then the extended version is available for all access on shadowdavis.com. And so we're going back to normal tonight. We're going back to normal. We'll do the main show, and then we're going to move over to shadowdavis.com after 9 o'clock Central for the extension. Do you know that there were UFO hearings, congressional UFO hearings in the United States yesterday? And some interesting stuff got revealed. And then nobody did nothing. It was like, okay, whatever. Like this kind of stuff being made public is amazing to me. Like they have actually gotten technology from alien crafts. They admitted this in a congressional hearing yesterday. And everybody's like, what's the score in the hockey game? Like, what? But I wonder, why now? Why now are they suddenly doing these UFO hearings? Why are they trying to reveal this now? What kind of a distraction? What are they hiding? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I'm in this. I'm trying to find out. But if they don't want us to know something, then they're going to do their best to hide it from us, right? So we're going to begin in just a second with all of the great content I have stockpiled for you tonight. But first, the show is brought to you by CanadaNanoSilver.com. Kev and Anna doing a great job with CanadaNanoSilver.com. And once again, I would like to thank them for their continued support of the Shadow at Night live stream. Here's the toothpaste. It comes in cinnamon, spearmint, and in bubble berry. It's naturally whitening. It helps keep your teeth clean. Triple action nano silver technology. Silverceuticals made from only the highest quality ingredients. This unique toothpaste is kid safe. Actually, it's kid friendly. Especially that bubbleberry. They're gonna want to brush their teeth 18 times a day. Mom, can I brush my? No, you can't. Go back to bed. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Triple action nano silver helps keep you clean your teeth. Give me 1 second here. I haven't been drinking enough water lately. And then you get cotton mouth. And I hope that goes down the right pipe so I'm not coughing all night long. Anyway, triple action nano silver helps keep your teeth clean, promotes healthy teeth and gums, and then above ground, Mind Coral Calcium helps to scrub and remineralize your teeth. And again, spearmint and cinnamon and bubbleberry for the kids. CanadaNanoSilver.com. Again, that is CanadaNanoSilver.com. If you're looking for retail locations, you hit the retail locations tab on the website. And if you would like to become a retailer of these awesome products, get a hold of Kevin and Anna through the contact tab at CanadaNanoSilver.com. All right. Haven't had a chance to do this for the past few nights, so I take great pleasure in welcoming the crew back to the show here, like Linda, who is watching from Trenton on Facebook. Another Linda is watching from Saskatchewan. She's also on Facebook. Hello, Janet in Kamloops, British Columbia. Wallace is watching in Meadow Lake. Hello, Carla in Calgary. Mireille is watching in Lacombe. Linda is watching in Calgary. Hello, Elsie, watching in Winnipeg. Nell is watching in Pine Tree. Felicia, meanwhile, look at what abomination is allowed in the living hell of Trudeau's Canada. She put a link in there I can't access, but I will later. I will later. Jonathan is watching on YouTube. Well, actually, John, I'm happy to, I'm back. I never left. I mean, the thing about these shows is, even though they didn't air at the proper time, they're still available on Facebook and on YouTube. I made a point of getting these up there. And I know you guys reserve a special amount of time every weeknight, so I want to thank you for being here. Hello, Julie in Hillside Beach, and Mike watching in New Bothwell, and Brenda, Christine, all you guys. So thank you for being here tonight. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X, Telegram, and Rumble, and of course, shadowdavis.com. We'll continue again with the extension after 9 o'clock Central tonight, and we'll also be able to converse via Telegram in the Shadow at Night group on Telegram. So if you're not a member of that, please go ahead and become one, and then we can talk to each other while the extension goes on. And tonight, we do have some interesting stuff regarding Donald Trump's cabinet appointees, at least some of them. Some of them might be these neoconservative warmongers, but we'll start in Canada tonight. This story comes from TNC.news. 63% of Canadian students fear expressing their opinions in class. 63%. A new survey on campus free expression has found that 63% of Canadian undergrad students fear professional consequences for expressing their honest thoughts and opinions during class. Just freaking wow. Nobody should ever fear expressing their opinion about anything, anywhere, anytime. And yet that's the environment that Justin Trudeau has created in this country, because it all stems from the top. And when the prime minister or the president or whatever dictator is running the country says it's okay to do that, then all of these tin pot dictator bureaucrats down the chain think it's okay, and they do it too. And eventually it reaches us, no matter where we are. You, in your job, may have taken some sort of form of CRT training, critical race theory training, or DEI expression, or whatever, to help you become a better coworker, a better employee, to better represent the goals and values of the company you work for. I say to that, do a good job, be a good person. Everything should work its way out. That's the way it used to be. Some of the formal sanctions students fear are being given lower grades by their instructor, having an instructor refuse to write them a letter of recommendation, or having a classmate file a complaint against them. Oh, no, because they know they're going to lose it. Whenever you go to human resources or the president of the university or the dean or whoever, you know in this creation of Justin Trudeau's that you haven't got a chance, if you're a common sense person, of winning the argument, right? But who cares at this point? I mean, that's the thing. We have to stop caring so much and trying to protect what little left we have, or it's going to be all gone. We have to be willing to put it all on the line at this stage of the game. And I think Trump's victory in the United States is going to be a huge boost for us. Because again, as you guys know, what I always say about the United States, whatever happens down there 6 to 9 months later happens up here. Students also feared social consequences, like being criticized by a peer on social media or being disliked by their professor. Once again, who gives a rat's ass? Further, 40% of respondents claim to have experienced negative consequences after airing their thoughts on controversial topics, such as being reprimanded by university faculty or staff, or denounced on social media by classmates or instructors. The fall 2024 survey commissioned by viewpoint diversity organization Heterodox Academy also found that over half of respondents approve of some restrictions on campus free speech. They approve of them. Canadian students show reluctance to bring up sensitive topics in class. The Israel-Hamas war is the subject with the highest level of reluctance. And I wonder why that is. Well, let's have a look at this here. Oh, asylum shopping. 14,000 foreign students have applied for refugee status in Canada this year alone. They're here through a study permit or a visa, and now they claim they're in need of asylum. From the counter signal, asylum claims are only supposed to be made if an individual is fleeing their country because fearing persecution, as per the UN refugee policy. The Liberal immigration minister, Mark Miller, says most of the claims in Canada are being made falsely, meaning they come nowhere close to qualifying for asylum status and are simply taking advantage of the system. It's quite obvious, Miller says. And by the way, it looks like if you follow him on X, it looks like he's got Mark Miller in the title of his account, and then there's some Arabic characters that follow it. I tried to figure out what that was today, but I couldn't. Why does he have Arabic characters in his profile on X? I thought that was very strange. Anyway, he says it's quite obvious someone that's been here a year or even more claiming asylum where no conditions have changed in their home country. It doesn't smell good. It doesn't look good. So the Liberals are finally moving on this immigration thing. And I don't think that's a good thing. And that's a political statement. That's not a patriotic statement. And I want to make sure that you guys know that's a distinction that I'm making on purpose. Because we do not want the Liberals, and it looks like, from what I've seen these last couple of polls, it looks like they're in. Now, this could be just a weird bounce, a hiccup, as we used to say in radio ratings. It looks like the Liberals are inching back up towards 30% support somehow. And it looks like the Conservatives are coming down from this lofty 42% to around 39%. So tightening. And I know it still sounds like, well, there's still 14 points. Look, man, if that keeps going the way it's going, then it's going to be a problem. We do not want these Liberals in power. I mean, they are obvious globalists. Even if the Conservatives, some of them anyway, are closet globalists, we can root them out over time. But what we're doing is slowing down this globalist train. We cannot have these Liberals in power any longer. They have destroyed this country, and they'll keep destroying and ruining until they're gone. Many of the claimants don't even begin their program of study. Instead, they use their student visa as a gateway to the country, then immediately claim asylum upon entry. Others are claiming asylum right before their student visa expires so that they're given a free place to live, monthly taxpayer welfare checks. Miller further said that a number of these foreign students, most of which get accepted into community colleges like Conestoga in Ontario, are being advised to take this route as a getaway into Canada by who? Who is advising them of that? Other students who have done the same thing, probably. The majority of these claimants came from India, Nigeria, Ghana, Guinea, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, as reported by the Globe and Mail. As reported earlier this year, Ottawa allocates roughly $224 per day, or $81,760 per year per asylum claimant to receive housing, food, and essential items. Amid the uptick, Liberal Immigration Minister Mark Miller announced in January he was committing another $362 million towards temporary housing, hotels, for them. In Niagara alone, between February of 2023 and January of this year, the Fed spent more than $100 million taxpayer dollars on 4,896 asylum seekers. And now we've got Guilbeault, the environment and climate change minister at COP29 somewhere in Asia, proposing new global carbon taxes on maritime shipping. Global? What? Yeah, it's true. Stephen Guilbeault said the government is very supportive of the concept of creating a new levy on emissions caused by maritime transportation as global leaders gathered in Baku, Azerbaijan at COP29 this week to discuss climate change. Guilbeault told reporters the private sector could help close the gap in the U.S. $2 trillion funding shortfall for developing countries as they try to fight climate change. They can't find the money. $2 trillion. I shouldn't laugh, because what if they do? Who's it going to come from? Us. The environment minister said Canada will spend $160 million to launch a new fund called GAIA, G-A-I-A, to finance projects that aim to reduce emissions in lower income countries. So we're going to spend another $160 million on foreign aid, it looks like. According to Guilbeault, the new fund will include direct grants as well as long-term loans with the goal of getting $2 billion from private sources as well as from the government. Among the strategies discussed, Guilbeault suggested creating a carbon tax shipping emission. shipping emissions. We're very supportive of the discussions that are happening at the International Marine Organization to put in place some kind of levy on international marine transportation, he said on Tuesday. Now, keeping with the theme of this climate change nonsense, I ran across a piece the other day that involves Jordan Peterson. And I want to throw this up on the screen for you guys right now. When you say to me, some people message me and they say, give me some news I can use, Shano. Give me something I can use when I'm having conversations with my friends, family, neighbors. Just about whatever. Just so I've got some facts, because they don't believe a word I say. They think I'm nuts. They think I'm a conspiracy theorist. So watch this.
15-minute city thing. Cars, they are the epitome of individual liberty. Peterson actually has pointed this out.
I think there's two marks of tyranny right now. People who hate comedians, people who hate automobiles. Man, that's a line of war for me. It's like, really? Keep your hands off my fucking car.
Yeah, right.
Prick. Yeah, well, you think about what a car stands for. It's like radical autonomy and privacy.
You see what happened in California recently? So first of all, in 2026, all vehicles made have to have a shutoff in America. That was a Biden initiative. Now by 2028, all vehicles in California that are speeding, this is working its way through. I imagine it will go through. If you're speeding, your car will beep at you, like as if you're not wearing your seatbelt. And if you think about that, the only way to employ that strategy is if you know where I am every moment. Otherwise, you wouldn't know the speed limit.
The 15-minute cities, which Edmonton, Toronto, and Montreal are all already stated as going to be a part of. They say 0 private car ownership is the goal by 2030, 0 kilograms of meat consumption, 3 items of clothing per person per year, and then also limiting people to 1 short-haul flight every 3 years. These initiatives, that's where they end up planning to go. That's not coming from conspiracy theorists. This is directly in their C40 initiatives, which you can find on their website.
Okay. So let's go back to this news story. Came from the left-wing corporate media almost 1 year ago. And I thought, because, you know, on Sunday nights through the spring and summer and fall in my part of town, we've got this classic car rally that goes blocks and blocks and blocks. And it's like old gas guzzling vehicles, right? And people line up, they bring lawn chairs, they want to watch all the cars go by. And I've walked through the parking lot of the mall that these cars gather in on the Sunday nights, just looking at all the old cars and the people around them, and they're so proud and everything. And I wonder to myself, do these people have any grasp that these cars are eventually going to be banned from use? Or they're just going to peter out because they're not going to allow any more car sales of gas vehicles in Canada after 2035. Watch this.
The federal government has unveiled its roadmap to phase out the sale of gas and diesel passenger vehicles. After 2035, you won't be able to buy new ones anymore. The regulations will require automakers to sell 20% zero-emission cars by 2026, 60% by 2030, and 100% by 2035. As Abigail Beeman reports, it is a big shift, and some are concerned about affordability and a shortage of electricity.
All new cars, no emissions by 2035.
To ensure we don't get left behind and that we keep driving towards the opportunities being created.
And more people are driving electric. According to Statistics Canada, in the third quarter of this year, the percentage of electric vehicles registered jumped to 12.1. British Columbia and Quebec drive the most, already meeting the 2026 goal of 20%.
There are real challenges to electrification, including affordability and charging infrastructure.
The auto industry questions how realistic the plan is, with so far to go on infrastructure and cost and uncertainty around available and affordable electricity.
Charging at home is a challenge for a lot of people that live in multifamily settings.
The government suggests it's working on all of it with a ramp up of charging infrastructure and claims EVs will have price parity with traditional cars within a decade. Currently, there's still a large upfront cost difference, and not everyone is ready to plug in.
And I don't completely trust them yet.
I could be okay with that, like if I can afford it.
I like my car. I'm good.
Canada's electric vehicles.
Yeah, it's Canada. It's not going to work. It might work in a Toronto or a Vancouver or a Montreal, That's about it. It's not going to work anywhere else. It's too cold here for this kind of nonsense to happen. But this is only a regulation that Trudeau's brought out. I found out today that the regulation, they're introducing a regulation that says you cannot buy a gas-powered vehicle in Canada after 2035. Okay, it's a regulation. So does that mean it's a law? And then I threw it up and I went, okay, well, if it's a regulation, can we just ignore it? Right? Like, don't spit on the sidewalk. Whatever. Not that I go around spitting on sidewalks, but let's look at this here. Regulation, the regulatory process. Regulations provide support to the new laws and are enforceable by law. Well, what's the law that involves this particular regulation? As they say, unlike legislation, regulations are not made by Parliament, but rather persons or bodies that Parliament is given the authority to make them in the act, such as the governor and council or a minister. So this is Stephen Guilbeault's thing, right? But what's the law that this regulation is based upon? Here it is. They passed it when? 2021? I think. Let's read. Net zero emissions by 2050. What is net zero? Achieving net zero emissions means our economy either emits no greenhouse gases or offsets its emissions. For example, blah, 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 blah. The Canadian Net Zero Emissions Accountability Act, which became law in June of 2021. Yep. Enshrines in legislation Canada's commitment to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. The act ensures transparency and accountability as the government works to deliver its targets. So all those regulations are based off this legislation, which has been law for the past 3.5 years. And the thing is, nobody knew about it. We just kind of went, what are they talking? Oh, you passed this 3 years ago. Oh, that's just great. Great. Meanwhile, in the United States today, Donald Trump announced the nomination of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as the Secretary for Health and Human Services. Here he is addressing Congress just a couple of weeks ago.
Safety trial of any of the 72 vaccines doses that are now essentially mandated. They're recommended, but that's effectively mandated for American children, and we have not been able to find any. And every other medication requires, prior to licensing by FDA, that the company perform a safety trial that compares health outcomes in a placebo group and a similarly situated vaccine group. My assumption was that was done for vaccines. We found out that it hadn't been, that it was not, they were exempt. And I made that statement publicly. Dr. Fauci contradicted me, and when President Trump ordered him to meet with me, him and Francis Collins, and a group of my colleagues, I said to them at that time, you've said publicly that I've been dishonest about that. Can you show us a single pre-licensing safety trial, placebo-controlled safety trial for any of the 72 vaccines required for American children? And he made that show of looking through a file, and he said, well, they're back in Bethesda. And I said, will you send them to me? And I never heard from him again, so we sued the HHS. Under the Freedom of Information Law, after a year of litigation, they sent us a letter which is posted on CHD's website that acknowledges that they are now not able to locate a single pre-licensing safety trial, placebo-controlled, for any of the vaccines that are now mandated for children. These are zero liability vaccines. I'm not anti-vaccine, but I think we need to be honest and we need to have good science. I spent 30 years trying to get mercury out of the fish in this country, and nobody ever called me anti-fish.
I like this guy more and more and more. Here he is at a Trump rally about a month ago.
I started working on this issue 19 years ago. And for 19 years, I have got every morning, without one exception, I have said a prayer to God to put me in a position where I could end the chronic disease epidemic. And on August 23rd of this year, God sent me Donald J. Trump.
Here he is at a Turning Point USA Q&A just a few weeks ago as well.
My initial inclination would be to use the Justice Department and the moral authority of the office, but also, the Justice Department should immediately call in begin an investigation of the medical boards and the collusion between the pharmaceutical industry and the medical boards that are delicensing these physicians who actually try to heal patients and try to treat them.
Oh. Whoa.
The Justice Department will also call in the medical journals that are corrupted by the pharmaceutical industry and explain to them that they're all going to be subject to criminal and civil RICO actions if they don't show us a way that they're going to stop revoking studies and refusing to publish studies that challenge the mercantile interests of pharmaceutical companies.
Okay, so that goes hand in hand with the censorship all over the big social media companies regarding the information that seems to be only available on certain other social media platforms and was broken on X. Remember Twitter files? They came out with all of that information upon these vaccines and how much the government was forcing the social media companies to withhold all of that information, and how Pfizer, or was it the FDA? The FDA wanted to keep the ingredient list of the Pfizer vaccine secret for 75 years. The FDA. They're supposed to be protecting us, and they wanted to keep the ingredient list of the Pfizer and probably the Moderna vaccines secret from the public for 75 years. Now, I recall, not that I was alive and coherent as an adult back in the 60s, but I recall hearing my mother and father talk about the Kennedys. They liked the Kennedys. John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy. And the Kennedys talked like this regarding the mafia and certain other things they wanted to change. Big changes to the establishment. And look what happened to both of them. Bang, bang, right? So RFK Jr. has some lofty goals. He wants some things to change. He wants to make America healthy again. And I totally commend that. And there are millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people who want that to happen as well. And hopefully, again, like I say, what happens in the United States happens in Canada 6 to 9 months later. And we start to understand that, hey, we can do that. We can probably do that better than they can. But look what happened today to the vaccine makers' stocks. Like, this was announced, I think, this morning or late yesterday, that Trump was nominating RFK Jr. for Health and Human Services Secretary. And look at this. The stocks took a plunge. Friends, this is billions and billions and billions of dollars that we're talking about. Shares of Moderna, Novavax, Pfizer, BioNTech, and GSK closed way lower on Thursday. Huge drops in the stock prices of all of these companies, and they're going to continue to go down as he tries to implement his new policies. And of course, we're going to talk about Tulsi Gabbard as well in just a second. And of course, you know that the left-wing corporate media hates it as well.
Clear of politics, but this really isn't about politics, because this is somebody who has been, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has been pushing quackery, who has been pushing lies, who has been pushing conspiracy theories. You've been talking to experts in the health community, the medical community, preparing for him, RFK Jr., to be given some sort of role in health. What have they said to you?
Well, you know, it's not often that the entire medical and public health community is going to be in lockstep on something, but they're pretty close on this in terms of their significant concerns, horror even. Somebody said to me today, I can't think of any single individual who'd be more damaging to public health than RFK. Keep in mind, I think if the reporting's correct and the job is the Secretary of Health and Human Services, that comprises the CDC. We just got through this pandemic, comprises the FDA, comprises the NIH. He's talked about wanting to basically strip funding for infectious diseases overall. Again, just coming out of this pandemic with concerns about other viruses and things out there. The challenge, I think, is that
he's not saying any of those things. CNN, MSNBC is worse, but these guys, they're lying through their teeth about what RFK Jr. wants to do. They are absolutely lying. They're lying.
At the same time, there is this whole idea that we're not a very healthy country. We spend $4.5 trillion on healthcare, and we have some of the worst outcomes in the developed world. And our food supply and other things are partly to blame, things that he's talked about. So there's these kernels of agreement with regard to the medical establishment and the public health establishment in particular. But then there's these other things, like Caitlin was just talking about, that they're not alternative views. They are false views. People often say, well, these are
pushing.
He said everything he need. Hang on a second.
Pushing.
All right, let's take it off then. He said medical establishment. That's all I needed to hear. Those guys on CNN are full-on bureaucracy establishment. That's what they want. They want to maintain the status quo. And it appears to me, at least so far, although there are a couple of concerns regarding Trump's nominations for his cabinet, it appears to me that these people are trying to shatter the deep state. When they say, we're going to come in and drain the swamp, I think this time they actually mean it. And Trump's got the people, I believe anyway, that can do the job. I mean, look at this is the Associate Secretary, current Associate Secretary of Health and Human Services, Admiral Rachel Levine.
Affirming care is life-saving, medically necessary, age-appropriate, and a critical tool for healthcare providers. As a pediatrician, when it comes to making sure kids are healthy and happy, I know how important care that affirmed someone's true identity can be.
So, let's talk for a moment about the trans health care that our community needs and transgender medicine and gender-affirming care. I mean, that term is important, although our opponents have weaponized it.
So we really want to base our treatment and to affirm and to support and empower these youth, not to limit their participation in activities and sports, and even limit their ability to get gender affirmation treatment in their state.
Hello, I'm Admiral Rachel Levine. This Black History Month, I'm pleased to partner with OMH in advancing better health through better understanding for Black communities. Climate change is having a disproportionate effect on the physical and mental health of Black communities. Black Americans are more likely than white Americans to live in areas and housing that increase their susceptibility to climate-related health issues. And 65% of Black Americans report feeling anxious about climate change's impact.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough. I mean, he covered, let's see, climate change, trans, and diversity, equity, and inclusion all in that 2-minute clip. Friends, that person was in a very huge position of authority and still is, and is going to be removed, obviously, in the next couple of months. But that's the way the United States and Canada has been going for the past 4 years. Somebody took video of some Canadian forces marching in West Edmonton Mall on Remembrance Day a few days ago. And this video has been made fun of online quite a bit in the last few days. And I think for good reason. Let's have a watch here. Right. Now, I don't want to make fun of our military, but I'm going to. When you're marching in formation, you are supposed to be in formation, uniform. You train on this day after day after day. You're not supposed to be out of sync or out of step, especially for a public demonstration like this one. Like the arms are supposed to be swinging exactly the same with every soldier. So is the training going downhill because of DEI? Look at that guy. He's just like standing right in the middle of a couple of rows like this. That's not good. Is that what's going on with our military? Now, I understand it's only a one-off thing and maybe they didn't have proper time. I don't know. But this used to be common. Like in the Canadian forces, I mean, you drop of a hat. Guys, get into formation, march now. Boom. Done. Second nature, back of the hand stuff. So I would say that, yes, that was shockingly bad and embarrassing. What about some of Trump's other cabinet nominees? Well, there's Tulsi Gabbard. She's going to be the head of U.S. intelligence. At least Trump wants her to be. Remember, all of these positions, even though there's some kind of a clause, Trump can use an executive order to just appoint these people without Senate confirmation. I think he would like to get Senate confirmation on all of these people, but he wants an expedited process. And because he doesn't take power until January and the new Senate and the new Congress takes power, he should be able to ram that through because the Republicans do have control over both of those houses. So it shouldn't be a matter of taking weeks and weeks and weeks. But of course, the left-wing corporate media does not like the appointment of Tulsi Gabbard as the head of the CIA, the FBI, DDS, all of the alphabet agencies. And they're saying she doesn't have the experience for that. Well, Donald Trump was expected to pick an outsider to lead U.S. intelligence. He exceeded expectations and chose Tulsi Gabbard. This comes from Politico.com. The former Democrat, member of Congress from Hawaii, has many critics and no formal intelligence experience. She's known chiefly for her opposition to American wars abroad, sympathetic views on autocrats like Vladimir Putin and Syria's Bashar al-Assad. Well, I don't recall her feeling sympathetic towards those people. What she says is, we got to get out of unnecessary wars. Not sympathetic to anybody. We have nothing to do with any of this. Why should we send and sacrifice thousands of our soldiers in a war that we have absolutely nothing to do with? Like Ukraine, for example. Trump's announcement of Gabbard's nomination as Director of National Intelligence stunned members of Congress, along with current and former members of the intelligence community. One senior former intelligence official who was granted anonymity to discuss the pick described the choice as a left turn and off the bridge. Okay, so anybody who's granted anonymity will say anything. They can say anything. They can stir the pot all they want, but ultimately it means nothing because you're anonymous. It doesn't matter. It could have been made up. At this stage of the game, if you don't put your face and your name out there, whatever. You can go F yourself. The surprise choice nonetheless came as something of a relief to those who feared Trump might nominate the combative former diplomat Rick Grinnell, who briefly served as acting DNI in his first administration. It will also almost certainly face headwinds when it comes time for her Senate confirmation hearings. I doubt that. I mean, that's whatever. The Democrats don't have a majority any longer. They can't do it. They can ask her questions, sure. But that's going to be about it. She will be approved. What about this guy here, Tom Homan? Have you seen some of the exchanges he's had in committee, especially with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? If not, you guys have to look that stuff up. That stuff is awesome. That stuff is awesome. Anyway, he's going to be the new border czar. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. He used to be the border czar, and now he's going to be the border czar again. This guy knows his stuff. He does. And he said, by the way, don't forget to like and share. Let's get this out to as many people as we possibly can on Facebook, on YouTube, X, Telegram, Rumble, shadowdavis.com. The extension starts in 20 minutes. If you're a member, all access member, I'll see you there after 9 o'clock Central. Trump's borders are concerned by Canada's terrorism problem. Uh-oh. What do you mean terrorism problem? We've got a terrorism problem? Shit, yeah, I guess we do. He says the problem with the northern border is a huge national security issue. Tom Homan. America's new borders are taking no risks amid an extreme national security vulnerability along its northern border with Canada. This comes from Rebel News. Tom Homan expects tough conversations with the Trudeau government moving forward, a claim reiterated by Mark Miller, Canada's immigration minister. Spokesperson for Public Safety Canada told the CBC they have a shared interest in deepening collaboration on cross-border issues with the incoming Trump administration. Canadian law enforcement agencies, meanwhile, are working day in and day out with their U.S. counterparts to maintain the border's integrity. Then how come we've got all these people suddenly who are claiming asylum? 14,000 students. Oh, right. It's the rules. And by the way, Quebec politicians, not federal, but provincial politicians, are suggesting that Roxham Road is still open. People are still streaming across the border. As a matter of fact, it's starting to pick up again since Trump's election last week. They're just coming in saying, asylum, asylum. Oh, all right then. Should we play this? This is an interview he did with dude here from TNC True North, Harrison Faulkner. Yeah, let's go ahead and
talk about what's going on in the northern border. Oh, there's a lot of chatter that's...
I grew up in the northern border.
Okay, so...
South of Kingston.
So what do you make of what's been going on there? There's not a lot of noise that comes up to Canada about the problems that America faces from a northern border, but do you think the U.S. needs to take that more seriously?
Absolutely. You know, their report last fiscal year in FY23, 227 people off the terrorist watch list across the southern border that were arrested. At the same time, 432 across the northern border. Remember the...
You're a good man, and you're a good man and a patriot. I love it.
Remember after 9/11, GAO did a study, and they said that a terrorist crossing the northern border is 10 times more likely than one crossing the southern border. And the number of people off the terrorist watch list crossing the northern border last year almost double the southern, but we never talk about it. Crossings in the northern border up 400 to 600%, depending on what sector you look at. I grew up near Alex Bay, you know, again in Aquay, Kingston area, and their numbers are sky high. So, and the problem is with the Canadian border, we got very few Border Patrol agents up there, and half of them have been assigned to the southern border, which means there's very little patrol on the northern border also. It's a big national security vulnerability.
Absolutely. Well, I think for a lot of people who are not in the United States, they look at what's been going on at the southern border and they're just wondering why it seems that nothing is actually taking place, why no enforcement under the current administration is taking place. What do you make of the fact that under Joe Biden, things have skyrocketed across the southern border, and from a lot of people's perspective, nothing's actually being done?
Nothing is being done. This isn't incompetence. It isn't mismanagement. This is by design. This is open borders. This is what they ran on. They're keeping a promise because they see some future political benefit out of an open border. They think these millions of people will be future Democratic voters, but people need to be reminded they don't even have to vote because President Biden also overturned the Trump census rule, which means millions of these illegal aliens are going to be counted in the next census in sanctuary cities. So when they reproportionate seats in the House, this automatically means more seats in the House for the Dems. That means perpetual power, perpetual control. They sold this country out for power.
Last question for you, Mr. Homan. We're asking attendees at CPAC what they think of our leader, Justin Trudeau. You have any thoughts about Justin Trudeau?
You need to find a better man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You need to find a better man. He's terrible. I just wish that Homan would speak more clearly so we could understand him. You really got to pay attention when he talks. You guys watch any of the political polling on YouTube leading up to the U.S. election? I watched a couple of different guys, and they were always using Polymarket as an example. Polymarket is pretty much just it's not a betting site. It's a predictor site that can give you some insight on what to put your money on. And it's pretty much anything, right? Including the U.S. election. So the U.S. election, as it got closer and closer, Polymarket started giving Trump far more of an advantage. It went from like 51% 2 weeks out from the election to 55%, then 60, 62, 65, and they'd go state by state as well, using polling data and personal polls. And it was higher in some states and it was lower in other states. Well, the FBI, I guess, didn't like that whatsoever, and they seized Polymarket CEO's phone, electronics, and more yesterday, late last night, early this morning, after the betting platform predicted this Trump win. This story comes from New York Post. FBI agents raided the Manhattan apartment of Polymarket CEO Shane Coplin early Wednesday. I guess it was yesterday morning. He's 26 years old. This kid. Just a week after the election betting platform. It's not an election betting platform. It's everything platform. It's a predictor platform. Anyway, after Polymarket accurately predicted Donald Trump's stunning victory, 26-year-old entrepreneur was roused from his bed in his Soho pad at 6 a.m. by U.S. law enforcement personnel who demanded he turn his phone over and other electronic devices. It's a grand political theater at its worst, the source told the New York Post. They could have asked his lawyer for any of these things. Instead, they staged a so-called raid so they could leak it to the media and use it for obvious political reasons. Payback, right? It's incredible what they're willing to do, even in the... It's like that animal that's dead, but still doesn't know it's dead, and it's still charging at you. It's going to try and take down anything in its path before it finally goes. The Onion. You know what The Onion is? It's kind of a joke site like Babylon Bee, but not as good. The Onion has bought InfoWars at auction. Alex Jones claims higher bid was rejected. This is crazy. The satirical news source The Onion outbid rivals for Alex Jones's InfoWars at a bankruptcy auction backed by families of Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting victims owed more than $1 billion in defamation judgments against Alex for calling the 2012 massacre a hoax. Here's Alex Jones.
They're turning off the internet. They're turning everything off here. And so that's in the process right now. InfoWars is turned off. Band.video is turned off. And so there is a very good chance that we will be back here in the next few days as soon as the judge has an emergency hearing. And this will, this what I believe is injustice and wrong will be upended. And so discretion is the greater part of valor. And so the feds that were here left. And when they heard Steve Bannon say, go put cameras on them, that's not what I was going to do. I wanted to go talk to them. I did talk to them over the phone. And they're going to Houston for the emergency hearing that the folks I was working with that put in real bids were just denied the process. They went and paid. They went and got put down deposits. They did everything right. And then, nope, sorry, lower bid gets it. And that's all coming out in court. So, and if the judge wants to certify this, and that's what America is so far, we know that we've got to, continue to work to restore our republic, but we've won. Trump's in. We're turning the tide. We haven't won the war. We've won the major battles. And so I just want to, commend the crew. I want to, commend everybody for the hard work over the years that they have done. I want to thank the listeners and the viewers that over the years have fought so hard to keep us on air. This is not a victory for the bad guys. This is them being revealed. This is them being brought out in the open. This is the globalist tyranny being forced to take the mask off. And so this will only backfire. That's 100% clear. Streisand effect. Because you are going to take all my old clips, all our live shows, everything we do, and know that the system doesn't want you to have this because we are effectively bringing America back in a peaceful second American revolution.
Guys, so this is not just taking Alex off the air. And by the way, he's not going to stay off the air. There's going to be other entrepreneurs that want him back on, and they'll reform under a new name. It's not going to be InfoWars. It'll be something else. Maybe the Alex Jones Show. Maybe they'll come up with a new name. But the bottom line is they will wind up owning all of his old stuff going back to the 1990s. And it's the Onion, remember, who bought it. So they're going to turn InfoWars into a parody of itself. They will try to make Alex Jones look even worse than they have over the past 30 years. So in the last couple, 3-4 years, Alex has gained a lot of notoriety and a lot of credibility because he's been essentially right about a lot of things. Not everything, but he's been right about a lot of things. But now they're going to take everything that he has owned in the past, every show that he has ever done. They have the rights to that, all of that now. They're going to take it and turn it into an SNL skit. All of it. And that's a sad thing. I mean, think about if you're an artist or if you've been making things for the past 30 years, everything that you have ever done professionally in the last 30 years is now owned by somebody else. It would be like, well, I guess, the Beatles, their songs for 50 years were owned by somebody else. You write a classic song, you would expect to have the rights to that song, the publishing, all of it, and somebody else owns it? That's not right. It's legal, but it's not right. Alex was talking about UFOs. Like right off the top. And now they're having UFO congressional hearings like this one they had yesterday.
Whole archives of data, much of which I believe will likely have information that will help inform UAP. We need only look. And again, in an era with AI and ML, we can relatively quickly and easily go through it. So I think it's something that we should encourage NASA to do.
This is a presentation from the UATP task force. This is completely absurd. It's nuts, this level of censorship, of redaction on a document. It shows the redaction of how many reports they've collected, for how many years. 2 of the 3 potential explanations are blacked out. The Pentagon, the intelligence community is treating us like children. It's time for us to know the truth about this. I think that we can handle it.
Has the government conducted secret UAP crash retrieval programs, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, were they designed to identify and reverse engineer alien craft, yes or no?
Yes.
In your book, you mentioned government employees who've been injured by UAPs placed on leave and receiving government compensation for their injuries. Is that correct?
That is correct.
How can the government deny we have recovered craft if they're paying people because they've been injured by recovered craft?
Ma'am, that's a great question. That's why I think we're here again.
I really believe that we should use this hearing as a catalyst to improve and bolster our air defense capabilities and our maritime domain awareness capabilities, because obviously there are holes in it, whether it be UAP of non-HI direction or NHI direction, or, like as you say, sir, China or any other adversary.
Why now? I'm not talking about the election. Well, maybe I am actually. Like, why now? Why is it now that they're trying to bring this out? Is it a major distraction? Is it the beginning of some kind of a plan they've got where we're going to start seeing craft in the air, like huge craft over major world cities? Like Independence Day, remember that movie? All of a sudden one morning you wake up and there's this massive thing in the sky. We know it won't be real. It'll be a projection. They can do that. HARP can do all kinds of crazy things, by the way. There is one U.S. congressman who thinks this is all bunk just for show. Watch this.
I have Republican Congressman from Tennessee, Tim Burchett, who took part in those hearings. Burchett, how you doing this morning, sir?
Dadgummit, it's a beautiful morning in America.
I knew it. I knew it. Okay, I have to ask you right off the top. Did you walk away yesterday satisfied, or did you say dadgummit? Did you want more from yesterday?
Oh, I always say dadgummit after these miserable hearings. They're bogus. Look, I could have answered every one of those dadgum questions, and you know it, and I know it. I know more about this than the average bear, I guess. Maybe that's a scary thought, but this thing's a cover-up. we're spending tens of millions of dollars on this issue, on something that some little arrogant jerk tells us in a skiff that with a man bun tells us that don't exist. And then we're looking at video right there, and you ask him about those specific videos, and he'll say, I have no data on that. And then he smirks.
I'm a little surprised that you call these hearings worthless. You've been kind of one of the ones spearheading this and pushing this forward for transparency. I'm surprised to hear you say that.
Well, it's because, I know what needs to happen now. I mean, maybe I didn't at first, but at this point, all we're doing is rehashing other things. And we got more, well, I guess if you want to hear more government officials that have some guts to tell us that these things actually do exist. I mean, I don't know anymore how much more proof we need of that. What we need is somebody in the executive office to come forth with this stuff. And I think Trump is the guy. He's tired of it. This is part of the D.C. sewer. These secrets they keep, it's for power, it's for control, it's greed, it's those things that drive this country.
Let me ask you about the Trump administration, because I know he just went on the Joe Rogan podcast not that long ago. He said UFOs, extraterrestrial life, not really my thing. Do you have confidence that his new administration will kind of change the game on transparency and we will, in fact, learn more?
Yes, ma'am. I have the utmost confidence in President Trump. In my conversations with him and his people, I believe he is about disclosure. And Rogan maybe knows a little bit more about it. And unless a president is ready in, as they say, to these issues, they're not going to know unless it's something that they've followed. We've had testimony to tell us that folks have told us that presidents have been denied access to this kind of thing. And you tell Trump he doesn't have access to something, you better just get out of the way, because he's going to run your ass over.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to ask you and play a bit of sound, because I know Representative Mace raising some serious questions with former Pentagon officials during the hearing. Take a look at just kind of this Q&A portion real quick.
Has the government conducted secret UAP crash retrieval programs, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, were they designed to identify and reverse engineer alien craft, yes or no?
Yes.
Why are people, anytime they ask, why are they always thwarted? Why are they always judged? Why is they always have misinformation spread? Why is there always retribution? Why is it always met with an ear? What's the why? If it doesn't exist, why is it such a problem?
Yeah, so Congressman, I think my biggest question this whole time has been what's the use of the government covering up this department if it in fact does exist? Why not tell the American people, hey, we actually do have a department that looks at unidentified objects in our airspace? I mean, what's their gain from hiding that? I don't understand.
That's my boy Jared Moskowitz across the aisle. He was my Santa Claus last year at my
at your party.
At my party. We went 16 minutes last year. It's going to be 15 minutes this year because we felt it kind of dragged last year. You're invited, of course, if you'd like to come.
Thank you. I'll be looking for my invite.
It would up your standards. But anyway, no.
Anyway.
The thing is just covered up, and that's the frustration of it. They say they don't exist, but they spend tens of millions of dollars on an issue that every department. We had people from NASA there, and I'm sure there were some spooks from the CIA that were watching to make sure nothing was said that would get their overlords in trouble. But the reality is this is a multi-level cover-up, and we're not going to, Congress, we don't have the ability or the guts to get to the bottom of this. Let's just be honest, Marquis. This dadgum thing has been covered up for over 50, 60 years now.
According to the whistleblowers, a long time. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And they're not going to give us any more information. And
thanks for watching, everybody.
Dadgum. There's a congressman, seems kind of like us, right? I wonder how these agencies, and now with Tulsi Gabbard in charge of all of these alphabet agencies, I wonder if they're going to change regulations. Ultimately, you would think the president, if anybody in that government, would have access to everything he or she wants to have access to. You can't. How can you deny the president of the United States information that he wants? He is, after all, not just the president, but the commander in chief. You can't deny the president. I would love to see that battle. That would be an awesome battle. The extension begins in just a couple of minutes. I have a note here from Dr. William Mackis I would like to share with you. Breaking news. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith has applied to have me put in prison for 83 days in retaliation for my wife filing complaints with the Edmonton Police and RCMP against AHS, the Alberta Health Service, and the college. And there is the document. So William says, I'm just going to click that off. I was working on the file of a 5-year-old girl with cancer. She had leukemia, trying to find ways to help her and her family when I received the news from AHS lawyers. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith has just applied to have me put in prison for 83 days in retaliation for my wife filing complaints against Edmonton Police and RCMP against AHS and the college for threatening our family. I may be the first doctor in Canada to go to prison during the COVID-19 pandemic and for trying to defend my family against threats and extortion from Alberta Health Services and the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Alberta. The application is being brought by Premier Danielle Smith's office, as all the documents behind this application were illegally leaked to staffers in her office directly to AH lawyers throughout 2023. I'm certain it was with her knowledge. AHS is now escalating the threats and extortion against my wife and my family, and they're collaborating with Premier Danielle Smith's office now that she has secured 91% support from Albertans with cheap trinkets. A fake Alberta Bill of Rights and watered-down parental protection legislation. Albertans have been played for fools. I'm going to continue to fight for my family, and I'm going to do it publicly. Most Albertans may have given up on their province and the future of their children. Danielle Smith has successfully dismantled all conservative grassroots organizations like Take Back Alberta and APP and scattered them to the winds, but I will fight for my family with everything I have. Maybe there are a few decent Albertans left who will help me in this fight. Wow. I guess we're going to have to get William back on the show so he can talk about this. He does have quite a following on Substack. You can find him. MackisMD.substack.com if you want to go and support him or read his stuff. He puts out a lot of great stuff. I'm not going to say it's daily, but it is consistent. He does have 3 to 4 different new posts every week. Again, that is Mackis MD, Mackis MAKIS, MackisMD.substack.com. These Donald Trump appointees, are they who we think they are? Some of them have drawn concerns and raised eyebrows. Like Susie Wiles, the chief of staff, she's a big pharma pusher. The word I'm looking for is escaping me. What's the word? Activist. She's a lobbyist for big pharma. And yet apparently now she's close to Trump to the point where you can't get near Donald Trump without her say so. And we hear that she's also a globalist, just like Marco Rubio, who he wants to make Secretary of State. So there are concerns. Judge Napolitano, you guys may know who he is. He apparently has some connections with the deep state and with agents working within the deep state. And he's going to reveal the truth, or at least his idea of the truth, in just a second on the extension on shadowdavis.com. For you all access members, I'll see you there in a couple of minutes. I'm so happy to have been back on all of the social media tonight, you guys. I can't tell you how thrilled. I was biting my nails 10 minutes before the show started tonight, hoping and praying it would work, and it did. And I'm so happy to be back with you tonight. So thank you for being here. I love you all. I appreciate you all. And I will talk to you again tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Central for another Shadow at Night live stream for you all access, folks. I'll see you on shadowdavis.com for the extension in 2 minutes.